tag you on the post, but I couldn't get it wouldn't come up.
Okay.
Let's see. Fetching video stream. This can take a few seconds. All right, we're not out of the woods yet. Let's see.
Sounds right.
Yeah. We're going to correct this, but it's going to take another day or two before the internet company makes the upgrade.
You can use this one. It's also a top course where you can use the one up. It's up to you.
Well, okay, well, something's happening. What is happening?
I usually don't have the curtain in that. Take the curtain down so you can see the tub. And I don't even use it myself because I put one upstairs.
Okay, here we go. All right. So we've actually been recorded for the last minute and 15 seconds. This is just very slow. All right. Sorry about the, this is the way we do it here. We're not full of spit and polish, but, oh, that's strange. Okay.
So it's streaming now, Todd.
Yeah, it's streaming. Let me go in. It's kind of got me out of my rhythm, but let me go in and what is going on here? Oh, I see what's happening. All right. My phone is downloading at the same time. Okay, so we got 17 people in the house.
Great.
Welcome everybody. Let me give them some time to come in because we've had a delay like we did today, but it worked out fine. All right. Let me try this. All right, let me get out of this. We're dropping pretty quick. I'm not sure if the signal's holding. That's the only thing that concerns me. Hello, how's it going, everybody? Hello, TL. We're in Washington State. These shows resonate. Please share, especially now. We're having some technical difficulties. Just share it to your page or to a group. That'd be really cool. I'm going to try to share this through the network real quick if it lets me. We've got a special guest today, a co-creator and collaborator that Morgan and I are going to be co-creating with in January at the Waves of Light Conscious Conference in Sarasota, Florida.
Excited to have you, Todd.
Yeah, we're excited to be there.
That'll be great.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to it. Morgan can't wait. So I tell you what, since we're kind of going by the seat of our pants as usual today, why don't you give us a little backdrop on who you are, what you've been doing?
Sure.
What you're going to be presenting, and
yeah.
And I know you're part of that. You were part of the Waves of Light last year as well, right?
Yeah. We did a cruise last January, and it was awesome. Had 55 people, and we just did a bunch of healing work. I talked about finances and money and attracting wealth and prosperity and abundance to you. And it was just an amazing group. We really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. We're going to do the same thing this year. People got tons of amazing results. Wow. I grew up in Missouri, and my grandma was really psychic.
Wow.
And my dad was a little scared of all this type of stuff, so he would never really use it. But I was always curious about it, and my grandma would share things with me. And then she had passed away when I was about 10 or so. And I got to see some of the things she did, and people would come over, and I would kind of sneak and watch what was going on and stuff. I always was intrigued with spirituality and all that stuff. And anyways, I went to college, got into sales. I started learning various ways to influence people and persuade people in a way that is ethical and just help them make better decisions.
Yeah.
And I was in and out of different sales management positions over the years. I got into stock trading. I made millions of dollars doing that. I started my own company, and then a buddy of mine helped me. We made a lot of money, helped a lot of people, ran around the nation, showing people how to make money in the stock market. And then 2001 hit, everything kind of changed. I was actually living in Hawaii, and my mom had passed away, my grandma had passed away, my aunt passed away, and I lost my fortune all within like a month or so.
Really?
Yeah, it was really a interesting time, and everything just came crashing down on me. My fiance had broken up with me too, and it was just a really tough time, and it kind of got me on the path. And I started talking to gurus, and
So this was in 2001.
yeah, about 2001, 2002 in there, and it was a really tough time.
Wow.
I wanted to know what the hell happened, so I started taking these classes. Some Kahuna found me, and I started studying with these guys. And
Really?
a bunch of stuff. Yeah, it was kind of an interesting experience, and they usually don't teach these things to white people. It was really an honor to learn some of these techniques of how life works and what's really going on. And with their lessons and their stuff that I learned, I kind of took it and ran with it. I got certified in about 30 different healing modalities. I just kind of went full bore on stuff. And I just wanted it to help myself. I wasn't really interested in showing other people how to do stuff at that point. I was still recovering and still trying to figure out what just happened. That bust just hit me, So I got into that. I started learning all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, some of my friends were like, hey, can you help me lose weight? Can you help me quit smoking? Can you help me get off drugs? I'm like, oh, yeah, that stuff's easy. So, I was helping people. And then I figured out, oh, you can actually make money charging for some of this stuff. So I was able to do it full time. And I worked for a psychic network there for a while. I was one of their top readers, and really enjoyed that. I kind of got burned out with it though, because it was just too much all the time, and kind of got in and out of different things. So
what'd you figure out from all the stuff that you were studying and the kahunas, and
yeah,
what did you figure out what happened to you?
Many things. The number one thing was you taking 100% responsibility for your life, everything that happens. If you're at 100% responsibility, there's no victims, you're living more empowered, and you can influence those events as well if you really believe that you attracted them. So sometimes God will try to teach you patience, or say you want to learn patience. Well, he won't just say, here you go, here's patience. He'll put somebody that cuts in line from you, or that cuts you off on the freeway, or, you get a real life experience where you can test if you learn that lesson on patience. And I feel like I attracted those lessons and was able to learn from them and grow. And I've created a lot of money since, and helped a lot of people financially, and remove those financial blocks that I had that was keeping me back. And it was really, really interesting experience.
So you had in the old life as a securities, stocks, whatever. So you had money.
Millions.
So you didn't have a block, apparently.
Right.
But then again, we're looking at it. I mean, I'm looking at it at the superficial level.
Right.
But so then this all happened to you. So you had kind of an awakening, I would say.
Really did.
These people, the relationship ended, the people transitioning, you lose your fortune.
Yeah.
And you're standing there with nothing.
Yeah.
And then, so then did you feel like, or at that point, or was there a point where you felt like you had a block financially?
Yeah. I did. I felt there were blocks. What I ended up doing was tying my net worth and my self-worth together.
Mm-hmm.
When I lost all my money, my self-worth just went down the tubes. I wasn't worth anything,
Yeah.
Emotional level and all levels. And I figured out that money isn't really about the money. It's about what's on the inside. And if you build yourself up on the inside, the money has to show up. It's an inside out job. And that's one of the lessons I figured out too.
So in this process, you're studying a lot of different healing modalities, energy work.
Yeah, energy work, Reiki, Kahuna stuff, hypnosis, NLP. I mean, you name it.
So you just dove right into it, and then you developed a practice. I mean, people assisting people. in their own journeys. Have you
Yeah.
seen a change? Are you still doing that? Are you still
Yes.
doing? Okay. So have you seen a change in, because I mean, this was 2001. Everybody talks about 2012. Seems to be a lot of awakenings occurred, give or take a year. And even some people come on the show, it's 2014, 2016. What I'm getting at is, have you seen a change in your practice over the last 2-3 years?
Yeah.
Or you seen a change in the clients? Have you seen a change in your own approach? And if so, what are those things?
Yeah. I've seen things that tend to be different as far as their clients bringing me stuff. It appears to be different, but it's really, when you boil it down, a lot of it's worthy and deservedness, which is actually from the past as well.
Mm-hmm.
It may just be camouflaged as something else. And I really feel like it goes back to, if you're prosperous on the inside, you'll be prosperous on the outside. That law of attraction, what we focus on, we get more of.
Yeah.
And, I feel it's all connected. Yeah, my business doubled.
Your business has doubled in the last couple of years?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
I think there's people hurting out there. I think a lot of them are doing good financially, but they're saddled with debt or child support or big houses and big cars and big payments. And at the end of the month, they've got like $10.
Yeah. Been there. We've all been there and done that.
Right.
So in how, if like you said, everything goes back to the same issue, I guess. And so can you kind of walk us through that? I mean, how do you increase your self-esteem, your level of self-love, that type of thing? In general.
Yeah. One thing I try to do is find out what people's blocks are. A lot of times they come to me, they're very conscious. Oh, I can't make enough money or whatever. Well, that's not really the issue, but we'll start there. So I like to talk to them about something called, and I'll have them write this down. I'll put, I and your name am now a multimillionaire. So if you just to say that out loud, I'm Michael Black, I'm a multimillionaire. What are the first 3 or 4 or 5 thoughts that come up? Well, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. Whatever the issues are, they'll start coming up. And once we can figure out what those are, we can start clearing those. And it's kind of like an onion. So we do it in layers. And one process I really like is called visual squash. It's an old NLP, neuro-linguistic programming technique. And it really moves people past things. So what I found is they can have 2 opposing opinions and still it be working on the inside of us like a tug of war. So on one hand, you say, oh, I'm worthy of being wealthy. I want to be wealthy. On the other hand, you're like, oh, I'm not tall enough, or I'm not this enough, or I'm not whatever enough. So they're kind of pulling on each other. So you got this internal tug of war, and it's kind of the same thought that's the opposites. So what this visual squash does is it gets rid of that and creates a whole new paradigm. So it really shifts your paradigms out. And then once you do that a few times, you can really work with some things and start building up the confidence. I work a lot with affirmations too, helping people, change their thinking and that sort of thing. EFT is a great one as well. Hypnosis is awesome. I'd like to walk you through this visual squash if you're open to it, Todd, if you think you have time. Okay. Yeah. So what we do is in one hand, you'll kind of cup it. So you can pick either hand. I'll tell you what we're going to do, then I'll walk you through it. All so in one hand, we're going to put all the negative things or things we want to change, or the blocks, resistance, obstacles. And in the other hand, we'll put the positive opposite, all the great things you want, you see yourself winning and all the positive things. And then we'll kind of feel that energy that's holding you back. And then we'll pretend there's these giant rubber bands around your wrists that'll bring your hands together in the prayer position. And those rubber bands are the resources you need inside of you in order to allow this to happen. And anybody can play along with this. So we'll go ahead and start there. So Todd, is there a financial goal that you have or anything you want to talk about in particular? Blocks?
Are there any blocks?
Right.
Are there any blocks? I don't know. I mean, at this moment in my awareness, No, I don't feel that way. We have to try a different way. Okay, we'll just
Yeah.
go with the because
You want a
I'm
new,
huh?
is there a new car? Is there a goal you're working on or anything you're looking towards?
No. No,
Okay.
I'm just in the moment, literally
Okay.
in the moment, living in this space
Okay.
of pure presence. I'm not saying
Right.
pure because I don't have it down 100%.
Right.
This
Right.
is a good dialogue. Let's go with
Yeah.
this.
Okay. I
So
got,
it's like we've been put into a situation where we're told not to do anything that's been done before. This has been going on for years.
okay.
If it's been done, don't do it.
Okay.
New Earth is new vibrations, new frequencies, new ways. They're not encumbered by anything in what we might call the 3D. Okay, I'm just going with it.
Sure. Sure.
So, in a space of, and when I say this, I don't mean absolutes because
Yeah.
I don't see anybody walking on water, and I'm not saying I am
Right.
Morgan, but we're in a space of surrender and
Mhm.
allowance, pure love, service to self,
Mhm.
service to the collective. Um, is there one and the same? Okay, so what is it that I don't know? That's a very difficult question for me because
Okay.
I can't find that I can attach to anything anymore. It's when I let go they come. So
Right.
this is a great exercise for me. But I like your exercise.
It's powerful.
Let's go
And
back to the let's go back to the because I
people
don't
are
want
so conscious too. You know, they're conscious. They really, you know, if you do some energy work, sometimes people feel it and sometimes they don't. They
to.
still get the result. But if they're too conscious, this is really a good one that can kind of help them get back into it.
Well,
So,
I like it because if we just take me out of it for a second, so
yeah.
you can use me. See,
So,
on one hand, you have this. I'm seeing it as energy.
mm-hmm.
On one hand, I don't even have to know.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
this
Yeah,
is
that's
just
true.
me. I don't even have to know these blocks. This is the energy of what blocks me. Right.
Okay. And
This
make
is
sure
the
your
energy.
hand's cupped because
Oh,
there's real
cup.
stuff there. Yeah.
Okay. And
Okay.
the
And then the
energy.
other hand, there's
Yeah.
the positive opposite.
Yeah.
The things that you are evolving in your life or things that are coming to you.
Right.
Now let's compare those hands, and everybody can do this at home too. Just take your issue and then the positive opposite. So if you kind of move your hands together, do you feel that squishy energy or that resistance, or what are you feeling? Now keep it so it doesn't fall out. I'm gonna do it like
Oh,
this.
like this.
Yeah, yeah. So there's real stuff in there,
Mm-hmm.
real energetics. Are they wanting to come together, or are they? Can you feel a squishy kind of energy that's pulling them apart? That's not wanting to come together.
Hmm.
There's a little resistance right there in there.
Yeah. There's a little
Okay.
line. There's a
Great.
little, but it feels like almost like a bridge, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Almost like an 11th finger.
That's right. So we want to pretend there's these rubber bands around your wrist that'll slap them together. And those
Mm-hmm.
rubber bands are the resources you need in order to just allow. Yeah. And maybe that's it. Maybe you just allow it.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So when you bring your hands together, you'll cross your heart, palm over palm, doesn't matter which one. So palm over your heart. You'll close your eyes and take eight deep breaths. And then what'll happen in your body, you'll feel these clicks, you'll feel these changes. You may feel some bubbling, some going on, and that's the real change work that's happening too.
Yeah. So that internalizes it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then people come back and they're different. And it's just,
Yeah.
it's a simple process.
Yeah.
And
You call that squashing. Oh, squashing as in this.
Yeah.
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 Well, and isn't that what it's all about? Is we're here, people call it ascension, the awakening, universal correction, whatever their school of thought is, isn't it? And here we are integrating our physical and our non-physical, our known and our unknown.
Right.
Isn't that when you get down to this energy work, or I'm going to say, isn't that it? But isn't it a huge part, or is it a huge part? Is it a part of doing energy work as a practitioner in terms of in respect to integrating polarities, dealing with polarities?
Yeah.
Um,
Polarity universe. Can't have a top without a bottom.
yeah. So if I clear, I don't know, we were talking about money. We could talk about a lot of things.
Yeah.
I think what a lot of people are coming to now is they can identify with one polarity. They can
Right.
say, "Oh, that's me," but that's not me
Yep.
over there. And so, how does that affect if we don't claim the polarity that we don't identify with? Is that in itself the block?
Yeah, that's good you went there. If you back up just a minute, though, I remember when I first got into sales and business, and I was out selling toe-to-toe to people and selling multi-million-dollar contracts and all this stuff, and meeting with board members and all this, and I would set goals. And when I set a goal, immediately I was met with resistance. Like if I wanted something, immediately the universe would say, "Okay, let's see if you really want it." And I think part of that polarity is having the universe test you. And I think there's a certain amount of when you put things out, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? Newton's law. When things are, stuck or stopped, once they get in motion, though, they continue in motion. I think there's a momentum that happens if you can just stay at it. 21 days to get your habit, to make something a habit. And I don't know if you ever heard this story about how they figured out how it was 21 days. Well, I think it was in the 50s. NASA gave these guys glasses, and it turned everything upside down. So you would be upside down with these special glasses they had. And it took them 21 days to get their eyes for it to be normal. And then they take the glasses off, and it'd take them 21 days to get back to normal. And that's how they figured out a habit could be 21 days. Yeah. Yeah, getting back to this polarity stuff, I've studied some Buddhism and stuff, and they don't always go with goals. In America, we're more driven by goals and outcome oriented in almost everything we do. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think if you take it to the extreme, it is, but it's kind of still where we're at on certain areas. And for you, Todd, it sounds like you've kind of evolved out of that, and that's good.
Well, I don't know.
Right?
I'm over here still swimming in the soup,
Right.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of different dynamics. I totally relate to your previous career.
Yeah.
I spent, I've read many books. Most of the early books I read were self-help books: Napoleon Hill, David Clement Stone, Tom Hopkins,
Right,
Ziegler, Brian Tracy,
right.
Tony Robbins. I mean, so I and applying those things from an I would call it an unawakened state, or not at a state that I was awakened to until 2011. But I did have in my heart a sincere, intention to serve and to create good.
Right.
And so I had, successes and failures in businesses and did a lot of, accomplished a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I can relate to the psychology of selling.
Right.
I can relate to the BS of the capitalism and even sales psychology, which is basically a form of leading someone on, or hypnosis. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
But, and again, I'm just trying to give a little backdrop here.
Yeah.
So now, where there's a lot of dynamics, a lot of things have changed now.
Yeah.
And it's challenging, I think, for all of us. That's why I love having these conversations, because that's what it's here. It's here to make people think. It's here to make me think. I just happen to do this. I'm in a session every day, right? 1 or 2 every day with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's like, okay, if you, now we're making this transition. And this transition is, a lot of things are seem to be breaking down, or we're leaving behind, they don't service anymore, that type of stuff. One of the big struggles I've seen with that's occurred with people in our community, let's just put it that way, have been people trying to create an equal energy exchange for what they do.
Right.
And I've seen a lot of people struggle with that. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've dealt with a lot of people, and a lot of them are just scared to ask for the money. And that goes back to that worthiness and deservedness. Are you went to these classes, you got certified, you've got the skill. This is what the going rate is. Why aren't you asking for it? Why aren't you getting it? And again, we try to develop that confidence and that knowing and that standing in your power, and that really works.
Yeah.
And
let me say something, everybody.
Yeah.
You're not getting the notifications because that's how the algorithms at Facebook work. But we're still here every day. Check my my wall on the Soulogy pages, and you'll see the announcements the day of or the day before. Back to what you were saying. This is a great point. So I think what the struggle has been, and I don't know, I'm trying to expand here, because this is a subject we haven't touched on with somebody of your experience and expertise. But I'll tell you why. I don't believe, because I've been on both sides, and I'm not saying I have the answers. I'm just saying I've experienced the corporate extremes and the consulting extremes, and also doing what I do. Like Soulogy, we don't charge for anything. That's the reason for that is not because Todd and Morgan and Soulogy's energy feels that it's not worthy. It's because this is what we're being directed to do.
Okay.
We're being directed to walk the talk, or walk in faith, to engage the universe, to maybe to anchor into the earth a universal frequency of a higher order, where there's less of the what we've had in the past. Now, what I was getting at was, I think some of these people that we're referring to, that I'm referring to, and that you've dealt with, actually have in their heart they don't feel it's right. So that's a new dynamic. I think it's a new dynamic. It doesn't mean not to charge. It doesn't mean to charge. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a new dynamic in this transition we call ascension. Have you had people tell you that I just don't feel right about it?
I have seen that. Yeah, I have seen that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't usually work with those guys because in my paradigm, I want them to pay me for my service and they get more out of it.
Yeah.
And, I've had people say, oh, you should do all this for free. I'm like, well, I've got bills to pay and my creditors don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
And,
well, I totally, one thing, I mean, I respect everybody's reality.
Right.
We have a show, we talk about dragons, we talk about ET visitation, we talk about all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
To me, the most important thing to talk about is, what are you experiencing? What am I experiencing?
Right.
We are, this is real-time intel and a conversation of real-time issues. And this is kind of where we're at. It's moving very fast. And what was, what was reality a year ago isn't today what reality was. Right. There's a new reality. There's a new reality almost by the week now. Right. Each one of these months has been intense. Let me ask you this.
Sure.
What does Michael Black do when there's a block, when he gets triggered, when there's energies coming in, whatever the reason for him, solar flares, geomagnetic storms, whatever people attribute them to. But what do you do as a person when you have a block or when you get triggered or that type of thing?
Great question, because it does happen. If I'm good and on point, I try to breathe, and then I try to go inside. I am consistent most of the time with meditating. And I tell you what, that really helps me kind of back up from a lot of the stuff going on.
Yeah.
Another thing I try to do is I try not to plug into some of these things that are automatic triggers. I mean, if you just turn on the TV, that's
Yeah.
their whole mission, is to trigger you. That's their entire thing, is to trigger you. And if you don't plug into that, you just don't, you're not around a lot of that.
Yeah.
And I like to spend my time in nature. There's a little lake by where I live, and my dog and I like to walk around it. Sometimes I'll take my shoes off and put my feet in the grass. And that's worth 20 years of therapy right there, I think.
Yeah.
And I have learned these techniques to help me, kind of release that stress. And another thing I try to do is daily physical activity to kind of release the stress, whether it's just walking for 25 minutes or a quick yoga session or a 8-minute Pilates deal or whatever. You can get all this stuff for free on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
And I just try to breathe it out, think about it, push back on it, and just push away from it.
Right.
Well,
like you were saying earlier, and you were using the example of money.
Yeah.
As you increase your self-love, self-value, then things start to come to you.
Yeah.
One of the things that we were talking about earlier were goals, which I used for many years of my life. I used goals. I used to write them down every day to internalize them. And many of them I reached and some I didn't. But I understand that. What I'm finding now, which is kind of interesting, is that there is very little of that. There's like, it's almost like the universe knows what you want. So just keep clearing that vessel, or clearing shadow, or however you want to put it, and these magical things just align.
Yeah.
Are you seeing any of that? This is, and I'm just telling you straight from the heart. This is, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not, because it's not. But I'm not. We're not in a stressful frequency, but it's a very unknown type of frequency run by a knowing, which is new and is not a easy thing for the human aspect to be comfortable with, because it doesn't operate the old way.
You're right. And I feel like when you're in this zone, things just show up. Opportunities show up. And maybe you had an idea that, I'd like to be wealthy, or, I'd like to do this. Maybe you didn't have it sentenced down into a goal or write it every day or whatever. But these things, when you're vibrating at a higher vibration, it attracts things, because like attracts like.
Yeah.
Todd, one thing they talk about in the Bible, without vision, people will perish. In the 1950s, they did this study, and they found, all these people had this bunch of dopamine stuff going on in their brain. And then when they, set a goal or whatever, then they had a spike in dopamine and all this stuff. So they took these rats and they figured out how to cancel all the dopamine in their brain. Well, pretty soon those rats didn't want to do anything, and they ended up passing. They ended up dying. And I think we've evolved beyond that. But what are your thoughts on that without vision?
Well, I think there's a difference between. And it's tricky, because when I say tricky, it's become a new dynamic, because if you take Todd pre 2011 or pre whatever, it was, I'm gonna own real estate property. I'm gonna own my own business. So each step, I'm gonna be this, I'm gonna do that, and it was, I did very well by 3D standards. If the paycheck was a scorecard, and annual sales, and gross net profit, and all that stuff, right? It was a competition. It was a competition, and I was a very good alpha male personality, and it served me well. But I have changed. Vision came in because the universe came in and said, Soulogy, the other side of truth. That's what the universe told me. This is not anybody else's truth but my own. then other things happen, universal or divine episodes, divine intervention, whatever you want to call it, and Morgan and what you would call dimensional experiences, interdimensional experience, shared dimensional experiences, and so on. So there is a vision, but the vision is coming in from, let's just say, the higher self, the oversoul, or whatever, the universe, you, me, we, and it.
Right.
And what I'm getting at is that there's been times over the last, over the last couple of years, up until really about March or April of this year, where the other Todd, the goal-oriented, the strategist, the operations guy, the sales guy, the marketer, the fundraiser, whatever, would want to pop in and say, we got to do this and we got to do that, and we got to do this and we got to do that. And the universe is saying, whoa, no, you're not going to do that. And I think the last thing I would add to that is a lot of that came from the divine feminine incarnation in my my life, that brought in another frequency of trust this etheric, this non-physical part of you, trust this more than you've trusted this other characteristic or methodology from the past that you and I both can relate to.
Yeah.
That's kind of where, it's like, it's not over.
No,
it's not over, and I'm not advocating anything. The only thing I can advocate is what I'm led to do, which seems to be working. It just doesn't operate the same way.
Yeah.
It doesn't say, okay, like it might say to me, what you're working on is going to be huge. Okay. Now get in the car, or you're in Hawaii. You're in Hawaii, and your very first apartment, the only one you've ever had, the only home you've ever had with your wife. You're actually together. You have furniture, everything's fine. And so this is going to be really big, but you guys need to get rid of all your stuff and go over to the mainland and wait for further directions. Where in the old paradigm, or I guess the old way of thinking, would be like, okay, here's $100,000 in the bank. Here's what we'd like for you to do: create a U.S. tour and go from city to city. And it doesn't work that way.
Right.
So we're in that space between breaths. We're in this new dynamic. I'm assuming we're not the only people this is happening to.
Right.
So it's been it's interesting talking to you today, because I can totally identify with that you have lived and experienced and become an expert at.
Yeah.
I can absolutely do it. I can, and I've done it, not millions of dollars.
Right.
There's, it just, but I had, a lot of overhead. I was one of those people you described, and I had all this and I had all that, and $5 at the end of every paycheck left over. Right.
Right.
So yeah, it's interesting that as all this is coming together and like being mixed in a mixer, and like, what's going to come out of this? How's this going to happen? Or how's this going to work?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I learned this technique years ago, and it really made a difference for me in my results and sales and business deals and all this stuff. And I want to share it with everybody. I love my clients. I pray for them. I wish well upon them. And, all of a sudden when I did that, when I physically did it, when I said it out loud, when I wrote it on a piece of paper and tapped it with my pen when I'm talking to a client, or I see that and I just think of them, and, I wish well for their financial success, their health, and all this stuff. And, they're not paying me to pray for them every day or whatever. And you can call it prayer or well wishes, whatever. But I got a huge jump in all my results, out of the gate.
Yeah.
And, that vibration really shifted things. And I encourage anybody to test it and see what happens,
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously you have a sincere, pure intention. And there's a lot of I have to interrupt this program for a special announcement for the same reason that you just said. So this is the world I live in. Synchronicities. I just want to say hello to Amira Beth. Amira Beth, sister lives in Kauai. She sent us some shirts, and it's not the first time. The name of her company is wisdomwear.org. These are bamboo fabric. They have microdized, fine crumbled Andara crystals that are put into the paint and put into the paint that's applied to the shirt. So I just want to say to everybody, a lot of people ask us about Amira's clothing, and you can find her at wisdomwear.org, and we can vouch for the quality, and the rest of it speaks for itself. So thank you, Amira, and thank you for letting me say that.
Yeah.
I just happened to see that she was on. Yeah, I think that, obviously a lot of these things look different, right? A lot of ways look different. I love what you said earlier. You said that's not in my paradigm. And I think that's one of the basic rules of the road, regardless of how much do we have in 3D, how much do we have in 5D, how balanced or imbalanced we are, is that we can focus on the choices we make. And one of those choices is to select the frequencies that we choose to be, faced with or come across, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the things, because that begins to, you clear the inside, you attract the same thing, but you also have, which is an inside job, right? Which is more of an internal thing. And then you still have, because we are transitioning, we still are human. We can also make some choices on the external that, kind of do the same thing in reverse, right? Like there's an energetic impact to the blessings you give your clients, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
This is a physical action that has an energetic impact as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one works too. You have this non-physical impression or action that creates a physical manifestation or a mirror or however you want to look at it. Yeah, it's an interesting conversation, because this is the evolving and expanding new good book as I look at it. Like whatever we've been given through our life experience into it, and it's kind of like Akashic records plus life experience equals new good book equals new earth,
right?
New blueprint kind of thing.
Stuff.
You mentioned that you worked for a psychic network. I've had a few friends that have years ago. So you obviously had some type of connection going on. You mentioned your grandmother. Were you introduced into that part of you and part of us through specific divine essences, galactic, angelics, elementals?
Yeah, a little bit. She would have people over, and I would hear them laughing and giggling, and she would be laying hands on them and reading for them and doing all this wild stuff and doing things around their head and touching them and all this stuff. And, I kind of would spy on her, and then I'd ask her about it later. And, she showed me some things and hid some things, said, go find this and tell me where it's at first. And, just some wild stuff like that. And she was pretty old when I knew her, but she showed me a few things, and I was just always attracted to that. And I had some experiences where I could feel angels around me and kind of see them, and kind of would know things before they'd happen, and it just kind of evolved, and I got really good at it. And then I was introduced to tarot, and I started using cards to double check myself, and it was just a whole evolving thing.
Wow.
And then her mom, I guess, was in Ireland, and she was kind of like a mayor and a judge and a peacekeeper, and she would people would come to her with problems, and she'd solve them, and pretty wild experience. And my grandma was born in 1888, if you can imagine.
Wow.
So, yeah, she was pretty old.
Yeah, my great grandmother, who I knew, was born in 1890. So
Yeah, isn't that wild?
yeah, that's a long time ago now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
She was a do-gooder too. She was Catholic, and they had this brick plant in the community, and they wouldn't hire Catholic people. So she staged they almost beat her up for this, but she staged a strike, and they picketed outside the brick plant, and boy, they were mad. And
Wow.
she ended up getting Catholic people hired there. It's kind of cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now, do you still use anything on a personal level I mean, how do you check yourself now? How do you align yourself just on a personal level, not
Yeah.
with your clients? I mean, do you have certain things that you do, anything you do?
I do. I kind of have a routine. I meditate and I breathe. There's a Hawaiian breath called the Ha breath that really charges your mind and body, but relaxes your body at the same time. And boy, that just kind of puts you in tune with things. And then there's another process they call, if I can remember the name, but you tilt your eyes up and basically get into a trance state, a relaxed state, and you just relax, and it puts you back, like gets all your three selves in rapport, and you just feel more relaxed, and then you can do and go and travel and whatever you need to do to get back to where you need to be.
That sounds similar to the old Silva mind control.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're one of the few people I've talked to.
Yeah, you count down and you're there. Yeah, alpha state.
Yeah.
Hakalau is the process.
Hakalau.
It's the Hawaiian term for getting in trance state. And once you're in trance, our body, our mind is more susceptible. We can influence our subconscious to bring and attract things to us. Our subconscious is like a 4-year-old. And if we can imprint that in the things we want, that can make changes faster. And the subconscious loves rituals. It loves symbols. It loves fun things. Like if you say, I want to be a millionaire, well, the subconscious is like, that's not fun to me. But if you can go beyond that and say, I want to have this experience or that experience and own a pool and, play darts in the backyard or whatever. I mean, that's fun for the subconscious. They want things that are fun. They're going to bring it to you. It's going to bring it to you quicker.
I like that.
Yeah.
I've never heard that. The subconscious So it's all in the presentation.
Yeah.
Because I think we all figured out by now the universe is subjective.
Yes.
It doesn't have like emotion or
right.
It's just going to give you what you're actually wanting. And I think that's what's happening with people now is we're starting to get a handle. Often use the analogy of a horse, breaking a wild horse. And we were on this horse and it was just pretty much doing what it wanted because this is the energy. But now we're starting to get control of it. And we're starting to actually become conscious creators, which is a fascinating subject to me because of what we've been talking about. Having been through very 3D, very alpha male, and fulfilled that and then had the return, which on a superficial level was perfection, or well, not perfection, but it was, you scored an A or whatever the case is because of your paycheck, because of your house, because of this, because of that. And then so many people like yourself, myself, we lose it all for what seems to be a very important time in the universes.
Yeah.
Some type of major event that's been forecasted, obvious and evidenced by the many sacred books and such. But now we have this new conscious creator that is limitless. What do we want to create?
Right.
And it's like the materialism is energy too. I get that, the money, the whatever it is, but it's weird. It's like, does it seem like the rules have changed to you? That I'm talking about possession, ownership, trademark, copyright, deeds. I mean titles. I mean, do you think that's happening?
I think more now than ever, people can't tell you what they want. They just can't tell you. They can tell you what they don't want, I don't want a 9 to 5. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Well, what do you want? Well, they don't have an answer. It's really interesting, you know.
Mm.
And I find it's usually sometimes it's the guys over 45, but a lot of times it's the younger people.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a huge debt right out of college. They got a 6-figure debt that they're saddled with, and they're going to go make, 50,000 if they're lucky.
Mm.
And then they're going to have a Honda and an apartment, and they probably like to eat on Tuesdays or other times of the week. So they've got all this pressure. So they kind of take the first train that comes along, this job.
Yeah.
And then they're kind of stuck. And, they may do that for a couple of years and get burned out and do a couple job hops and still looking for what they want. But they know they like to travel. Talk to any millennial, they've traveled. A lot of them have traveled, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But the goals have changed, and they can't define them, and maybe they're not definable. Maybe it's more of a
vibrational
freedom, or which is.
I
With
see,
you and it was, how many sales did you make? You made 3? Okay.
Oh my God, dude, I
You know
live
what I
that
mean?
life. Dude, I live that life. Every Friday, every Saturday,
Right.
once a week, you have the
It's
roundup.
measurable. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about Conscious Conference, Waves of Light.
Yes.
Morgan and I are new to this year, obviously. I do know everyone that's involved, but tell us a little bit about how it started, who's involved, and a little bit more specifics on what can people expect, just so we can get the word out and build awareness.
Definitely. So I had this vision years ago of doing a cruise or a conference, and I told a friend of mine, and she's like, let's just do it. So she was involved in the one in January, helping putting that together, and we got a hold of Jessica and Monica, and a couple other people joined us. They're like, yeah, we're doing this. So we put all these people together, and these healers and readers and metaphysical people and people that talk to aliens and people that talk to angels and all over the board, and dimensional speakers and all this stuff. And we got them there, and they just loved it. We went on this cruise, and we had classes every day, and they had time to relax and think about things. And it was really a neat experience. We had a lot of healing go on, just phenomenal information, a lot of networking within the group. People hanging around like-minded individuals. It's just a powerful thing.
Yeah.
You can gain so much, and you got friends all over now. And we want to repeat that and do that in January 17th in Sarasota on Siesta Key. It's the #1 beach in the nation. It's fine white sand that doesn't stick to your feet, and that doesn't get hot. And
is that right?
Yeah, it's crystal. It's really wild. Crystal from Appalachia. Somehow it got down into the water and down there and settled, and I'm glad it did. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I've been down that way. I didn't know that though.
It's this fine crystal. It's really amazing. And the hotel's right on the beach. We got a great rate with those guys, and we're going to do a prayer circle the last night, which is going to be awesome. We got kind of a little happy hour mixer on the first night, get to know everybody, and then it's off to
that'll be on the
17th.
So it's the 18th. 18th and 19th is the actual 2 days. The 17th there's a mixer.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we've already had, I want to say 4 people that I know through Soulogy have actually, I'm not sure they've all bought tickets, but I know 2 of them have. Yeah. And because a couple of them made comments. So I would expect to see what you're probably going to have, 100 people out there? Maybe?
We're hoping. Yeah. We'd love to have it. Yeah. Great.
It'll be a good time of the year to go down to Florida too, because by that time it's going to be cold everywhere else.
Exactly. And it's right before the snowbirds come down. It's about 2 weeks before. So we're getting just right in there where there's not a crowd. There's great restaurants in town. If you can stay an extra day or two, you'll love Sarasota. You'll love Siesta Key. It's safe. It's clean. It's really a neat place. The food isn't too expensive. They've got chain stores. They've got regular shops there that are local, and it's really neat. One of the other speakers is a friend of mine, a client. She's a naturopath. We're going to get you to interview her too, Todd.
Yes.
Dr. Lauren Grace.
Yeah, that's right. I met her.
Yeah,
yes.
she's really good. She's going to talk about anti-aging, how we can
Wow.
keep our body
That's.
going.
I would like to hear that one.
Yeah, she works a lot with the old folks there in Florida, that tracks all the snowbirds and stuff. And she's really worked miracles with these people. And
Wow.
she says the key is the gut. We've got a lot of bacteria in there that are working. And, if you have the right stuff going on, you're going to have great health.
Well, it's always good to hear what people are downloading.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big believer that whatever we download is first and foremost meant for ourselves, but there is always some type of correlation. As an individual goes, so does a collective. And I just want to tell everybody too that Morgan and I are going to be doing a keynote speech and then a workshop, and that's going to be involved around shadow work, first and foremost, sacred sexuality and divine union, but in a very expanded way, I think, because as the days go by and we're talking about it, it keeps expanding, and including our experience. So I think that's happening for everybody, and I think it's going to be a great time. I would encourage anybody who has that time available in January to consider going down there. There's a lot of inexpensive flights because that's still, you can go into Tampa or you can go to Sarasota, either one.
Yeah, either way.
So,
yeah, we're really looking forward to your talk, Todd. Everybody's excited about their favorite subject, sex,
Isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
It's amazing how all this stuff is. It's going to be amazing to see where all of this is at in another, what is that? I can't even think. God, it's already September.
I know.
It's going to be here before we know it.
Yeah, it really is.
I'm going to have to get in shape. I'm not looking as good as I usually do. I'm kidding.
Right?
All right. I've had too many tacos. I just need to cut down. It's good seeing you, Michael. I look forward to collaborating with you again.
You,
yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
and we definitely we're working on getting the others onto the show, and I'll see you, I think, in a few days. I think I saw somewhere. Oh, the 29th, I think. That's when it is. Anyway, I know we're going to get together soon.
That's right.
I look forward to seeing you, and thank you for coming on and sharing space with us today.
Aloha and mahalo.
All right. See you later.
All right. Take care. Thank you.
All right.